Let's call this meeting of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority together for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the invocation. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be together this evening. We ask you with us so that all that we do may be acceptable to you and to the benefit of the citizens of Null County. Guide and direct everything that we do. Bless our troops, our first responders, keep them safe while they're protecting us. All these things we ask in Christ's holy name. Amen. Amen. Do you want me to pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Hill, here. Commissioner Franklin.
Here.
Commissioner Hannah.
Here.
Vice Chairman Full.
Here.
Chairman Fullwood.
Present.
Thank you.
We have one comment sheet from the audience. Chip Ross, would you like to come up, please? The podium.
Chip Ross, 210 North 3rd Street, Huntington Beach, Florida. And a number of my neighbors are concerned about cruise ships coming to port and the impact on the neighborhood. And this issue was brought up last night at the City Commission during public comments. What's concerning is that I've been given an itinerary of several cruise ships. One from the Oceanic Cruises, it's in their itineraries, and they have two cruises that are stopping at the port of Fernandina Beach in 2025, and they were the cruise ship is the Vista, and it's got a capacity of 1,200 passengers. And the Region 7, I was sent another email this afternoon, was having a cruise ship with a capacity of 557 passengers.
Speak up just a little bit.
I'm sorry, 557 passengers coming to the port on the 20th and the 8th of May in 2023. We filed recently a public records request asking for any communications about cruise ships, and was told there was none. I tracked down the sponsor of itineraries for both the Region Cruise Line. Turns out both the Region Cruise Lines and Oceana. Talked with her this morning, and she confirmed that they had made arrangements to stop at the port, and she had done it through her booking agent, which was Inter Cruises, and she was going to get back to me on the particulars we should talk to. But the neighbors are concerned, and the city, I think, is concerned about what the port's doing with cruise ships. What the philosophy is, and particularly a cruise ship with 1,200 passengers.
The only thing I'm going to tell you is we'll have an answer to that soon. Thank you.
Mr. Much.
All right. Approval of minutes for October 12th and October 18th, the monthly meeting and the master plan workshop. Let's take them one at a time. October 12th. Any discussion about them?
I think I have. On what I referenced the representative from Marad, and just represented her last name. It's Villa Lona.
What page?
Page 4 on my packet, on the very bottom.
Villanueva?
Yeah, it should be Villa Lona. Did you spell it?
Okay.
Brendan Villanova, Villa what?
It's Villa Lona.
Villanova. Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
If that's the only change, I make the motion to approve or with the change.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. All right, minutes for the master plan workshop on October 18th. We may have a motion first to approve. And then we can discuss.
I'll make a motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the master plan workshop minutes. Any discussion? Joanne, can I have some of that?
Where are you going?
No discussion? Hearing none, the minutes of the motion, I'm sorry, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. All right, motion carries. All right. Court attorney report.
Thank you, Chairman. So we do have a resolution in the packet R05. And that's we discussed this previously about having myself and a law firm serve as registered agent for OPA instead of paying for a service or subscription. So I think it was the state agency that asked for the resolution, so Rosanna can provide that to them. So that's in the packet. And needs to be approved by the commission. And then my report is attached, the majority of which pertains to pending litigation, which is subject to attorney-client privilege. So I'm not going to talk about a lot of that during this meeting. I'm happy to discuss with you. We do have a calendar deadline to set mediation in the property appraiser case before the end of January. That doesn't mean mediation will be in January. This means we have to start talking about it and get it set. But prior to any mediation, we would obviously have a shade meeting to discuss that. But both of those cases are going to become a bit more active here over the next few months. So I'm happy to answer any questions one-on-one regarding that, again, because they are pending litigation. The other items are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And then before Pierre gets into his, we need to address the resolution.
Has everyone read the resolution? Resolution 2022 R05. And give me a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Motion been made
A second.
and seconded to approve the resolution. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. Very good. All right, Pierre, you're on.
So the treasurer's report for the new fiscal year is in your packet. Obviously, a new budget year starts October 1st, so this is the new budget. I don't have any other comments about the report. Unless anyone has any questions. And so also in your packet is the fourth quarter financial statements. So the period for the fourth quarter of so for July through September of 2022. So the year, again, there's nothing remarkable about anything in here, so I don't have any comments. Obviously, the auditors were here, so we just finished. We're continuing, we're not finished yet. The auditors left early because of the hurricane, so they left on Wednesday afternoon. So they were here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Obviously, Wednesday, like I said, afternoon, they headed back. They live in Tampa, so they didn't want to be stuck here. Tried to drive back on Friday, so But we're finishing up, getting them the information they need, all the documentation they're requesting, doing it via email and phone. So they should finish up their work. We should have the results of the full fourth quarter audited financial statements completed. By January, I would expect maybe a delay is February, so I don't expect any delays or anything, so. So that's what kind of our focus has been, especially last week, as I said, when they're here, they have a lot of questions about the grants and getting documentation and things like that, so. So that's the fourth quarter financials in the audit. ARPA, we've submitted our fourth reimbursement for payroll. We've prepared, and so we're waiting for those for the fourth reimbursement to come back from ARPA. It's signed, it's been sent off, it's in processing. We don't expect any issues, and so we have a fifth invoice. And again, we're just preparing those on a regular basis. And the same with the master plan. We're submitting those on a regular basis as we incur the charges, and so we're expecting reimbursement both those reimbursements for the end of the year. So master plan reimbursement and ARPA reimbursement for the end of the year. So sometime in the next month. So that's it.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the budget and ask the question about some fees
Mhm.
and when are they due? When we find those.
So officially, as per the agreement, they are due in advance quarterly. So that was back in. So when we signed the new contract, we had various issues that were outstanding, and so we came to we signed a memorandum of understanding or some document like that, signed by us and the court operator that said that the fees, because there was a question, are they due monthly, are they due quarterly, are they due in advance, are they due in arrears? That's not made clear by the contract, but the memorandum of understanding that was signed, as I said, I'd have to go back and look when exactly, but probably within 6-8 months after the new port agreement was signed, makes clear that they're due quarterly in advance.
Okay. I want to go down to, or also to the TPO membership that hasn't been paid yet.
No, it has not, and it's $100 more than last year, so that $13.29 is $100 more.
And when is that due?
October 31st.
Okay. About the special district fee, $225, when is that due?
I have not gotten that invoice.
Okay. All right, any other questions about the budget? Or the financial statements?
So are we having issues with like timing of cash flows? Since the ARPA funds are on a reimbursement basis?
Depends what you consider issues. We're timing our bills to make sure we have the money to pay. Obviously, salary being the first priority. Obviously, we have legal fees that we're paying as funds are available. And obviously, we got the master plan going on, so we're all those balls are in the air, and so far none of them have dropped to the ground. So
The issue is that we have to pay them before we get reimbursed for them. That's the only issue, and we have the
Sure.
money right now to pay those, so.
yeah, I mean, so again, we know what we have to pay, and we're
Yeah.
managing the cash flow. So I mean, obviously, again, we've talked a little bit about the legal bills are outstanding, so that certainly has helped our cash flow.
But financially, we're in pretty good shape. More or
I
less.
mean, we're paying our bills. I
Yeah.
mean, so again, we have some bills outstanding.
That's the way it works in my house, so right there.
Yeah.
As long as you pay the bills, you're in good shape.
So
Okay, any question about the financial statements? All right. All right, the executive director report, he is not here today. He's out of town. Do you have I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the court operator. All right, you're always out of town. You live out of town. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Lee.
Yes, maybe I didn't put it. So I do have one item in the packet that requires action. At least in terms of the consensus of the board. Every year, as you know, we get an allocation of funding through the FSTED Council. We need to provide direction to the DOT as to what project we want to use that money on. This year, we have $204,000 available. I said as part of the package, a write-up and a recommendation that we take 40,000 of that and add it to the grant that has the planning activities on it. So that as we move into the next phase of implementing the master plan, that we need to begin to engage designers, architects, engineers, what have you, that we can use those funds as a match for that. And then to put the remaining balance, the 164,000 on the grant for on-dock cargo facilities, which allow us to build the covered storage, whether it be another fabric warehouse or some other facility that I know the folks at Savage are working on as a priority project. So each of those projects have existing grants, so we'll just be supplementing those grants, which with an amendment. And the original resolutions that you all adopted for those authorize the chairman to execute those amendments. So I want to make sure that we at least had a consensus of the board that those be the projects that we apply for this. Once we get the back from the state, the chairman will actually come back to you guys. So just wanted to see if there was a consensus that be the use of those dollars.
Discussion.
So I just wanted to understand the specific projects. You don't, planning initiative projects. So the on-dock cargo facilities, where is that? That's on the
On the
current
cargo
project.
itself.
Yep.
Right, and so it has each of our project, when they wrote up the project descriptions on the original grants, have generally pretty broad definitions in terms of allowable uses. The on-dock cargo facilities grant specifically said that you can use it for covered storage facilities.
You need this,
So,
the map.
you know, it's anywhere on the terminal that we so choose it to be. And, you know, as we move forward with these projects, we have to submit certain documentation to FDOT to get reimbursed for those projects. So this is just a general project that will allow us to then apply specific requests for once we have design of the project and cost estimates aligned. Same thing with the grant for the planning initiative. You know, it was initially intended for the master plan, and that's where we're reimbursing ourselves for the master plan activities. But it's broad enough to allow for additional planning, design, engineering activities
For what?
for projects that we want to do on the terminal. So the master plan, as you know, will identify some priority projects for us. We describe, for example, the multi-use building as to take care of the CBP and the cruise initiative and those offices, etc. That would be, if that was a project that we wanted to move forward on, we need to do some preliminary design and engineering, architecture, what have you. For that project, we would be able to use that money to reimburse us for that.
We have permission from FSTED to split these funds up and use them wherever we need to use them.
Yes.
They're still matching grants,
So matching 50-50 grants.
right? I mean, wherever we apply, we have to match the grant, whatever portion we use for that. And there's nothing. The operator has not said yet whether he's gonna put up another fabric warehouse.
No, as I understand, they're going through that capital planning
Right.
process now. I think they fully intend to build a facility or something. They don't know exactly what form it's gonna take.
Yeah. So we'd be able to use those funds to help with those matching grants.
Okay, I was just looking for,
Yeah.
what the projects were. Just if we're gonna make a decision about allocation, I think we need to know what the underlying project is, otherwise we're just voting on something, but we don't really know what we're voting on. I mean,
Well, again, you're voting on allocating money to the broad definition of the project. I'm going to move forward before we engage a contractor, whether it be an engineer or an architect, for example, on a planning grant. Obviously, that's going to come back to this board for approval of that agreement, and the availability of funding will be part of that presentation to the commission. So before we spend any of the money, you'll have oversight on that. This is just making those costs eligible for reimbursement.
Okay, and when do we have to make that decision in order to reallocate
The
it?
state needs to program that money, and they'd like that decision by early December. That's why I brought it to you tonight.
So
For the
probably-
following year's spending?
Yeah, I mean, once they allocate it, then they'll submit an amendment to our existing grants. That money, I believe, is already available. So once we execute that grant, then we can incur costs.
So we've already been awarded the funds.
Yes,
Yeah,
But we're just choosing to like allocate it to another.
it's basically
Allocate,
like,
yeah.
they call it, it's just a grant amount, and then we have to allocate it to a project.
Okay, but when do these grants actually expire? When do they have to be spent by?
Generally, these grants have had 5-year terms to them. They were wanting to tighten up, frankly, on OPA because of some of the lack of spending in the past on some of these grants. So it wouldn't surprise me if they come back with a 3-year term, but it would be less than 3 years.
Okay, so for the part about, I would like to have a discussion about what we're gonna vote on. Do we need a motion before we can do that, or
yes.
are we taking them one at a time?
What would,
And you do it either way. I mean, like I said, what we needed to determine is, do we want to allocate our $204,000 towards those 2 projects? With the understanding that when we spend any of that money, you'll have specific contracts or specific contracts to approve as part of that. Which will provide much more definition. So if we wanted to spend money, for example, we wanted to hire a surveyor and an engineer and an architect to design this building, those contracts for those services will come back to the board for approval. And part of that approval will be an understanding that 50% of the money is coming from this grant, and the other 50% we would have to provide a match for.
On that 40,000, that would be money planning like our, the building OHP officer we talked about.
Use for that, or some other project.
Could be, yeah.
Something that area, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the customs house and stuff.
Right.
And on the 164, that would be money that's spent on the port itself. That would
Yes.
be-
yes,
If you for some type of warehouse or storage facility on that.
Mhm.
We already have a grant that allows us to do that,
Right,
and this would supplement, so it would add additional funds, so we would have enough money to fully do that.
I make the motion, we go ahead and accept that item.
do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to allow us to designate this money, FSTED money, for allocation to whatever project we deem necessary in the future. Any further discussion?
I just am concerned about allocating funding or voting on grants when we don't have like the underlying project information. Because we've had a problem with that in the past where we've, voted on grant applications without knowing what was in the applications. And so what I would just like to see, if we're gonna make a decision on taking money from one award to another project, that we have a backup of what the project is, so that we can say, oh, we need warehouse space. So I know Mr. Gilbert has given some presentations about warehouse space. But I would expect to see some backup as to like what the need is and why we need to allocate, move the money around.
But we don't know now what those
Right.
projects are gonna
So
be.
this money right now is not assigned to a project.
Right, So-
It's been allocated to OPA, $204,000. You guys decide how you want to spend it. So
Whenever-
OPA has 4 or 5 outstanding grants for projects that y'all have already approved. And all we're doing is taking this money and then adding it to those grants that have already been approved.
Right.
All right.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Just a few other things I just wanted to mention to you all in terms of activities. I did send out to everybody in the last week, I think it was, early this week, the write-up for the Seaport Mission Plan. As you know, each year, the Florida Ports Council produces this document. It's required by the Florida legislature, and it gives a brief overview of each of the ports and some of their highlights. I drafted some of the comments along with Butch to that, with Mr. Gilbert, to that document, submitted to you guys before we send it, also in case y'all want to provide additional backup or questions, or if you want to add or change any of that write-up. I'd like to try to send that back to them by the end of the week if possible. If it takes a little bit longer, that's fine, but I know they'd like to get it this week if possible. So if you have any questions, I'm available to talk about that. Still working on resolution for office space and meeting space. As you know, there's some question about the future use of the county space for our commission meetings, and we also know that sooner than later we're going to need to get out of the office space that the tax collectors offer. So we're working on a number of options. I don't have anything to report on specifically right now, but we are looking at a number of options, and as soon as I have some more detail, I'll provide that. The other thing-
We can go back to our meeting space that we were using.
Well,
But
we're
but there
expecting
gotta
a-
be some limitations on what we can
We're-
actually
We're
do.
expecting a interlocal agreement from the county to use that space. I'm told it could be a week to 2 before we'll get that. But as soon as we do, we'll share that with everybody.
When we get that resolution or that interlocal agreement, I will pass it on to Patrick and get his approval. And if he approves it, we need to go ahead and make a motion for me to sign it. I would assume, with your approval. Sure. And I'll make that motion. Motion been made
I second it.
and seconded to approve the interlocal agreement with Patrick's approval to move back to the county office. Any further discussion?
This is for our meeting space.
Yeah, the county
James
commission chambers that
Okay,
we were using.
and do we know what the budgetary commitment is?
We will not be able to use Wi-Fi. We will not be able to use the screen. So we're gonna be limited, and we're probably gonna have to provide some sort of security. I don't know what that's gonna cost. I'm sure it won't be much for less than 2 hour meeting, but
So we don't have a copy of this agreement yet?
not yet.
So we're just approving you to write something,
No,
No, the county's gonna write it.
and we're approving what?
We're asking Patrick to look at it to see if he would recommend we accept the
I don't think we can delegate discretion to enter into a contract to the lawyer.
Well, that's not what he's doing.
right.
What his motion, if I may, Chairman, his motion is that you all will approve it, provided I'm okay with it. I haven't seen a draft. I don't know what the terms are. What's the time crunch that we need to do this now?
By the 14th of
Well, that's whatever's
our next
driving this
meeting,
place.
the 14th,
We have to be out of here, I think.
So when is our next meeting?
the 14th of December.
We can't be here on the 14th?
I haven't
We
had a
could.
conversation with
Oh, we could, yeah.
Are you going to email each commissioner?
That's what we'll do when Patrick gives his okay, then we'll put it out to each commissioner and get their feedback to Patrick about whether it's acceptable. If it's not acceptable, then we'll wait till the next meeting.
So it wouldn't just be contingent on my acceptance then. It would be
Right.
Contingent on your collective acceptance.
Exactly, but let you look at it to make sure fits our criteria or. From a legal aspect.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about you all approve, as a board, you all approving something you haven't seen. Don't think I don't think we can do that. I haven't looked at that issue. My concern is that you're entering into a binding document that you may individually comment on, yet collectively you've approved it in concept. I think it's gonna need to come back to this board in a final form. I don't think you can approve something you haven't seen, you haven't reviewed. You're individually gonna provide comments on, I'm gonna provide comments on. I don't think that's proper. I hate to say it, but I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay, well, we can do it that way. We'll wait till we get the interlocal agreement.
Did they say when we would get it?
I'm gonna reach out, I'll reach out to Denise tomorrow. And find out what's going on.
They're just behind on getting things done.
Do we know if they're doing this with other boards? Like their committees?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't know specifically. The impression I got was that they don't want external groups using the facility, particularly they're concerned about the IT system. More than anything, and so it's.
They're worried about cybersecurity.
Use any part of their communications.
yeah, I'd be interested to know what they would charge for the AV support.
Of the, no, they're not interested in providing any support.
Because before they said we could use the system if we paid.
No, they don't want us doing that. And we're looking for other space, but we just haven't nailed anything down yet, so.
And this $40,000 we just voted on, to help us work in maybe. If y'all work in some more new space, and that belong to the port.
Could be. All right, so I'll put it out. If we need to meet early, it'll have to be before our next meeting. Hopefully, we can get that done in the next 2 weeks. But I'll get word out to you about when and where. If we have to meet back here on the 14th, we will. I don't really want to wait that long, but we may not have no other choice. Well, I'll just table it for now. Okay.
Chairman,
right.
could we go back to the last point on Mr. Kaufman's report, the Seaport Mission Plan overview?
Mhm.
Okay. There is a response to top 3 capital projects by project name for the 5-year planning horizon. And I think that some of these haven't actually been finalized. So just if this is going to be put out as a public document, we're still in the master plan process. And so I just would like to see that more as a, exploring these alternatives, looking at this as opposed to a foregone conclusion of capital. Okay.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to,
That's why I send it out to
okay.
get different eyes on it to make sure that.
Commissioner, can you copy me?
And our next stakeholder meeting is December.
30,
What?
30,
No, that was
I'm sorry.
November 30th.
November 30.
November 30th. Okay. All right,
The only other thing I wanted to mention, you guys have probably seen in the local media that the Tiller Company has been selected to be the developer of the Wildlife Industrial Park.
what company?
Patillo. They're a very large industrial developer, probably the largest industrial developer in Duval County. Very highly skilled, I think they're based out of Atlanta. Very highly skilled industrial developer. And so I reached out to them, let them know that we're available to work with them and help them, support them in any way, including our conduit financing opportunity.
Yeah, conduit finance.
So
If they need it.
those conversations have been initiated. I don't know whether they'll go anywhere or not, but We did make
Okay.
that contact.
What else you got, Dave?
That's all for me.
Anything on birth maintenance grading?
We advertised the bid, bids aren't due back until first week in December. I reached out to the operator to see if they had heard anything from any of the vendors we've used in the past, and so far, they have not. Well, typically, the people don't put their bids in until the last day,
Of course.
so let's see what we get. At this point, I haven't heard anything.
Very good. Have any comments for our executive director before I move on? All right, let's move to the operator, board operator, the tonnage report. Who's given that tonight? Anybody? Nobody's got a tonnage report. We've got one in the package.
It's in the packet.
Yeah,
I'll say, it's pretty. From a month to month perspective, it's pretty much, online. With what we've
Yeah,
seen
about
over
the
the last
same,
3 or
isn't it?
4 months.
Yeah.
The only real decline has been on the plywood, which again, that was sort of I think a one-time surge kind of thing because of the sort of back of other ports. I don't know whether that's something that we'll continue to see going forward, question I had for Butch, but otherwise everything else lined up with what our historic.
a lot of wood pulp went out. Where that went to.
That's in that.
Okay. All right. Unfinished business. FMIT policy. Rosanna, is that something you were covering? You got information for us?
That is not on the agenda.
It's on mine. We'll cross it off.
It's unfinished businesses, legal invoices, and we took care of that.
Right, we did that. That's what the FMIT came.
Mhm.
All right. Committee reports.
On new business.
I thought we just finished.
There's really no action on those items, Mr. Chairman. Just as an update, we're working with the state DOT to try to have them fund a resiliency plan for the port. So though haven't been notified yet whether that's been awarded or not, but that would help us hopefully put together a plan to deal with some of the flooding activities that go on a fairly regular basis during storm events. Tides and so forth. And part of that, I know the city is also working on their own resiliency plan, so I've requested that as part of the scope of service, that we look at what the city is doing and what we're doing, and not looking at it in isolation to see how they affect one another and can leverage each other. So I've also asked that the folks at the city that are dealing directly with the resiliency plan for the city be part of our technical group that would work on this plan so that we have that coordination. If in fact we get the funding. The cruise ship agreement, there's nothing really to report there. We're working with the operator to better define the arrangement between OPA and the operator as we move forward with cruise ship activity in the future. As you know, that is sort of identified as other activities in the operating agreement. So we're just trying to bring some better understanding around that.
Figure out who gets what,
Right.
basically.
Right. Who does what, who gets paid what.
Yeah.
So
Mr.
we're just.
Wilson, on the COP, I'm sorry, to interrupt. On
So-
the resiliency
Yeah.
grant, were you done? I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Do you have specific grants identified yet or funding sources?
well, so this came to me from the DOT. They saw what the impact was from the Ian storm with the flooding that we had. And resiliency, for DOT statewide is a huge issue. And they thought they might be able to help us out with that. So the funding for that plan, we would be the beneficiary of the plan, but the funding would stay with DOT and the contract would be with DOT. So they would hire the contractor that would do the work and we would just be the beneficiary of the work. Obviously, we'll coordinate with them, participate in the work, but it's their money that they're gonna award to a contractor to do the study on our behalf.
So it's a study.
It's a study, it's a plan that would hopefully begin to outline potential solutions so that we would then have a list of projects that we could then go forward and seek other funding for in the future to pay for those projects.
Do you have like a map of where the impact area is? It's, you say Front Street to the riverfront.
Well, the
downtown.
study, the plan will focus on our terminal property, right? And really the biggest area of impact, I'm sure. Ray can speak to it, is really at the north end of the terminal primarily. Where we see flooding there on a pretty regular basis. But you know, that it's pretty complicated because not only do you have a lot of organic material below that pavement that continues to settle. But you're adjacent to a marsh system, you've got railroad crossings and road crossings that are in that area. And so there's some complicating factors. And so they're gonna, this group, whoever it is that the state would hire, will come in and help us evaluate that and come up with hopefully a list of projects to then pursue funding for to implement.
So we already had a grant for the north end improvements, right? Dock improvements. And I don't know if we let it expire or if it's still
There
out
are
there.
still, I think there's still funding available for physical improvements.
Mhm.
I'm not sure yet we understand what it is that is gonna solve the problem.
Seems much bigger.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
I do know too, for the state and federal resiliency grants to actually do something, they will require an underlying study. So I think this is like the
It's the
first
first
step.
step.
So do we need to vote yes for it or? do we
No,
need to-
just updating you that, again, there's not gonna be anything that we have to do other than to spend a little time with our consultant and explain our situation, provide access to the facility. But we're not hiring them, we're not funding them.
So when they award these, they're looking statewide for projects and allocating. Do we know what the pot of money is total?
For the state,
Mhm.
I think it's well over 300. It might be 600. There's more than one pot.
Didn't we, I mean, in that presentation, I think she covered
Right.
what was coming down.
Mhm. I don't remember. It's a lot.
Well, that's, I think if we can, I agree, should be priority and the flooding around the railroad. Seems like that would make it more of a priority. You would think, considering that the mill that is served by that rail line has a $13 billion economic impact on our community. That seems like that would merit consideration.
Yeah, well, they're excited about it, about the opportunity, and they just haven't gotten it.
And they will be involved. Yeah,
Probably, I would imagine.
West Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay. Wi-Fi for meetings. Wherever our future meetings are gonna be, if we decide to stay here, we can connect the Wi-Fi. If we move to the county, back to the county building, we're gonna need Wi-Fi. So what I'd like to do is look for the availability to have our own Wi-Fi, more or less like a MiFi, so we could run our laptops. The only thing is, if you put it out on, what is it we put out, YouTube? Yeah. It costs a lot more money for every minute. So we just need to look into that, but I just wanted you to know that I'm gonna be looking into that and yes, sir.
T-Mobile does a Wi-Fi for business now, unlimited, $50 a month, and it's convenient as heck.
AT&T and Verizon do the same thing, but I've just got to check the prices and make sure.
Well, you wouldn't have to worry about the The video, that's what I'm saying, it's unlimited.
Okay,
I use it in my truck now. It's great.
and who was that?
T-Mobile,
T-Mobile.
$50 a month for a business. And it's like I said, it's unlimited.
All right, I'll check with them. But that's something we've got to look into. All right, let's move on. Any other thoughts? Move on to committee reports. Nothing to report, port security. FDOT, we have a meeting with FDOT, is it next week?
After. Moved it out, I think so, that, which would be there.
Not in December. December 5th. Yeah. 2 o'clock, all right. Customs House, Mr. Franklin, got anything on the Customs House?
I went by there last week, talked to them, everything is looking good. I told them this would be my last, the 21st would be my last day. They had any problems after that to get with Miss Rosanna. She would coordinate it. And I don't know who y'all put in charge of it, but I've enjoyed working with them. They didn't have a problem and that's it.
Right now, they're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could change it. Okay. Corps of Engineers, they did the survey of the harbor. And I sent that out to everybody today. Look at that, it'll tell you what the depths are coming into the harbor. And did you load that? You did, didn't you? Okay, but everybody should have that in their email. I had Rosanna send it out to everybody. If you have any questions about it, just let Rosanna know and I'll get them answered, but
There is also a pre-construction conference tomorrow that I found.
Where?
You're calling into, it's in Jacksonville, but you can also do it. By web. For the maintenance dredging of Kings Bay entrance channel. It doesn't impact us directly, but.
maintenance dredging of the channel.
Yeah,
Kings Bay.
Kings Bay.
That sucker's at 67 feet now.
So apparently they got a project coming up,
Okay,
so.
must have some low spots in there somewhere. Gotta make sure submarines don't scrape the bottom.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Economic Development, Commissioner Cole.
Nothing to report.
Nothing?
Well, we had a business retention and expansion meetings.
Yeah,
Scheduled, but it had to be canceled because of the hurricane.
a hurricane.
We did have a regular business meeting, and it was also canceled.
All right. Very good. Emergency management.
The ESC was activated, but it was on a smaller scale this time. I did work with Dave and I did work with Elge, and they gave me the information that I needed to pass on to them. Mr. Lewis gave us a chart of the conditions, and so I shared that with them. That tells them when we're in whiskey, Yankee and Zulu.
Right.
And whiskey was at the first notion, that was our warning. And then we went into Yankee, and then we went into Zulu, which closed down.
Right.
And then the day after the storm, the Coast Guard and the pilot captain, the river captains did a survey of the port, and they agreed that it was open back up for business.
I don't know if anybody saw the pictures
Of the debris or
of the container ship, the 20-foot container ship floating.
Not the ship.
I know.
Container,
It looked like a ship. That's what I said that. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Must have been an empty one. Yeah. Yeah, all right. We're all here. TCC, Commissioner Hannah,
It was canceled.
of course.
I was so looking forward to that one.
Mm. TPO, Commissioner Cole.
EPO was canceled as well.
These hurricanes just do a lot of things. You know? How about the Chamber of Commerce? Did they have a meeting,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hill?
No,
I had a
I did meet with some folks from Main Street about, they asked about cruises. And they're doing a survey of local businesses to just gauge.
Right.
Receptive. Sentiment about cruising.
Okay. Be interested to get that back.
We did have a meeting with the chamber on the west side. Today.
Okay,
They're trying to kick those back up.
Good. all right.
They gonna put the west side of the chamber back up?
Well, we're just gonna try and start a chapter of it or, an extension of it. We had it going good for a while there, but,
Yeah.
COVID really hit us and so now we're trying to go back to at least once a month, having a luncheon. And having it at R&R Juniors or at the Pig.
All right, anything else? City of Fernandina?
So I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Ross's statement about the statements that were made at the meeting. And just ask what the collective will is of the board to address that, if anything.
And not reserved, either one of these, reserved at this point, so. We know what's going on, we get comment. And not being secretive, if you don't know.
I don't think anybody on this board has been in contact with any of the cruise ships. Is that what you're asking?
No.
What were you?
I was just asking, what response would you tell the citizens of Fernandina that came
Oh.
out and spoke against cruises or had concerns?
Against cruises? Well, I would just say we don't have all the information to tell them anything about the cruises other than I think it's good for the city. Most of the merchants down there that I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of them, like having these passengers come in and spend money. Now, I think we have to have a conversation about numbers. I think there's a limit to the numbers that we could deal with or handle. And we need to get input from as many people as we can. And what I'm going to do in my short time as chairman is try to put together a committee from downtown merchants, Chamber of Commerce, who else, Dave?
Somebody from the city.
Yeah. Of a group of people to sit down and let's work this out and see what their concerns are and how we can address them. If we did bring people in, what we would do with them. I mean, you wouldn't want, if you had 300 or 400 people get off a ship, you wouldn't want to put them all downtown. But there are other venues that we could look at to maybe, because when a cruise ship docks at any port, they have itineraries. And you can either go here, you can go there, do, certain things. And that's what these ships are gonna have to do if they bring in large numbers of people. And I don't know what large numbers of people are. If you're talking about 300, 400, you have to have an itinerary and have them choose where they want to go and what they want to do. But those are some of the things we need to cover with this committee. And I hope to have more information about that in the future.
So there's a new statute on the books, 31125 that passed in Tallahassee in 2021. And it limits the local government through local law. A local ballot initiative or referendum may not restrict maritime commerce.
Right.
And some have interpreted that to mean that as long as it's not a local ballot initiative. That it wouldn't be a problem, but then further in the language, it says that any local law, charter amendment, ordinance, resolution, regulation, or policy adopted. Is prohibited, avoid, and expressly preempted to the state. So I am just curious if we would even have the ability to dictate the size of the ships once we have a terminal to receive passengers. Because Key West is challenging traffic flows. They're trying to say, you know, where buses can come through and where passengers can disembark. And they are being told that this statute preempts their ability to control the traffic
But,
flows.
but Key West, the ships that come in down there have thousands of passengers. And I understand what their problems are, which means hundreds of buses going through town. We can control what ships come in here. We don't have to make an agreement with anybody. We can say if you have over this many passengers, we'd rather you go somewhere else. Because we just can't handle it. But that's something we just need to look at. And I'm not an attorney. I don't know about and I'll let Patrick report back on that. But that's where we are right now. I can't tell you who's coming in when, because nobody's told me anything. So. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Can Patrick look into that? Yeah.
He's going to, yes.
Okay.
When I run for office, you know, everybody wanted cruise ships to come in from it.
Mhm.
They was encouraging us to try to get them in. And the business people loves it. And we are a tourist community. So, but like you say, they can have different places to go. You've got downtown, you got the beach, you got Amelia Island.
You've got the wildlife
Yeah.
thing over here in Callahan or Hilliard, wherever it is.
Wildlife.
Not wildlife, it's what is it? What's the name?
Are you talking about White Oak?
White Oak.
I don't think White Oak's open to the public, is it?
Oh, yeah,
Is
it
it?
is.
They had talked one time about not doing it, so I don't know what their stand is at this point.
Oh, okay.
But it is
It may not be open to the public right now.
But it'd be good for the chamber and stuff to check on that, because that'd be a.
We've talked about doing some at the vineyard.
They may have shut that down because of COVID at one time, but I don't know. Okay. But yeah, you're right. That's certain things, and there are even places in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
So they all don't have to go downtown.
No.
But we don't want 20, 30 buses going through here, taking people wherever. And that's something we can control. All right, any other discussion about that? Okay, office manager report.
My report is included in the packet. I just I would like to ask for board direction on the TPO assessment fee. Like I said, it's $100 more than what's budgeted. Do I pay it?
I thought we voted on that when we had, did we,
I thought that was in the budget.
in the budget, yeah.
It's $100 more. I just wanted,
Well,
What's
the
in the
bill
budget?
come in $100 more than what we voted on,
correct.
so we need approval
Then-
to. I make the motion, we approve the $100.
I'll second
it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the extra $100 assessment for TPO. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. You got it.
Thank you. And then the RSNH master plan invoice, that's on hold right now. So just to inform the board. And so I just want to confirm the second meeting in November is canceled.
Yes, because it's so close to Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Now, it may be with some of this stuff we've talked about tonight, we may have to have an extra meeting to do certain things. If we do, it'll be a short meeting. We might could have it in the afternoon. But I'll certainly let you know about that.
Do we have to notice that? Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
if we have a
so,
meeting, yeah.
Yeah, you need to tell me soon.
Well, I can't tell you.
I mean, you could, theoretically, you could do it as an emergency.
Yeah,
Emergency, okay.
Right.
And just post it on the website. Okay,
okay.
so you're gonna
So
move the
the-
December
The
7th?
The December 7th board meeting will be the 14th, actually, not the 7th. The 7th is the first Monday, and we usually have the second Wednesday. I mean, we usually have the second Wednesday, so it'll be the 14th. The December 28th meeting, I'm gonna tentatively cancel that right now because it's in the holidays and a lot of people won't even be here. And if something emergency comes up, we'll deal with that one. Okay, any discussion about that? All right, I have one last thing I want to do tonight. And get out of this chair.
They're gonna throw us out.
The gold elections did not come in.
Those Rolex, they come in, sorry.
Supply for trouble.
Well, it may do.
All right, as you know, this is the last meeting for two of our current commissioners. And as we do with all of our outgoing commissioners, we're going to present you a plaque. Scott, if you come up. Said, present Senator Scott Hanna, Commissioner, in appreciation of 4 years of service to the Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Nassau County, Ocean Highway and Port Authority. Sir. Oh, there you go. All right, thank you, I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Commissioner Franklin. Yeah, another one. Commissioner Franklin just says representative. Commissioner, in appreciation of your 12 years of service to the Board of Commissioners and citizens of Nassau County on behalf of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority, Nassau County. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. I've enjoyed working with the board. It's been a privilege. And the last 12 years, I've really enjoyed working with Pierre, all of y'all, and it's been good. And I know we got two good people taking that seat, taking that.
Well, I want to say, Commissioner, you and I are the longest serving commissioners on the board right now.
Well, you've got me beat by 2 years.
Yes. So far.
And one more thing, who made the plaque up?
Who, you mean who put the, uh-oh.
They need to spell my name right.
Oh. I
How's
thought
it
it was
spelled?
two
How do you know?
R's.
Huh?
I thought it was
With
two R's.
one
and
L or
two
two?
L's.
Y'all got 2 L's, what else?
Oh,
Well, you've earned an extra L.
Oh, that's about a mistake.
But I want to thank both of you for your hard work on the board. We've run into a lot of problems here the last several years too. And you delved into it. You've done your committee assignments well, and I, for one, really appreciate you guys. Thanks again.
Thanks, it's been fun.
Anyone else? All right, anything else come before the commission? Meeting's adjourned.
I'll see you.